My name is Elena. I became a mother even though I have a disability. I was born this way, without arms and without legs. In the village, people said that my father had many lovers, and one of them came and did a ritual at the doorstep. She struck with an axe 3 or 4 times. The doctors explained from their side that supposedly there was a large umbilical cord, and it pinched these limbs of mine. I was 7 months old. I was sent to Mosir, to a children's home. I found my parents when I was 16. Of course, we did have a meeting. I don't even know how to put it to you. Of course, I was scared. There, but I didn't tell either my mom or my dad right away. Well, honestly, it was kind of cold. Of course, it's very hard for someone from an orphanage to leave the institution. You were practically not prepared for anything. Well, in general, as they say, I went through life on my own after leaving the institution. After finishing school, they were supposed to give me a one-room apartment since I was considered an orphan from the orphanage, but they didn't give it to me. At 19, they sent me to a nursing home. What I worried about most in my life, especially when I was young, was that I wouldn't have children and that I would have no one. My husband and I met at the Duyanovsky residential home. He arrived, of course, looking handsome. He was on prosthetics. He didn't have legs, almost like me, only he still had his own knee. But it was purely a bet. I said he'd be mine. I got pregnant unexpectedly. It just happened. I went to my friend's place, and whatever she cooked, I was like, listen, what are you making? Seriously. She asked, hey, are you sure you're not pregnant? I was like, no, of course not. How could that be? Well, like, half the people thought I should have the baby and half thought I shouldn't. Well, I was a little scared because I didn't have parents, no help. There was no one to rely on. When I found out I was already 2 months along and they were preparing me for an abortion, I was lying there at night thinking, God, it's already 2 months. There's already someone there. I'll have the baby. But how will you swaddle him? How will you raise him? How will you do everything? I'll manage. My pregnancy went fine, but in the last months my pants were somewhere down on my hips. My belly was huge, just like this. My son was born 4.5 kilos by C-section. Well, of course it was a bit scary. I talked to the doctors. I asked them, I said, if the baby turns out to be really small and it's hard for me to take care of him, can I stay with you for a month or 2 until he grows a bit? But when such a big chubby baby was born, the doctor asked, still planning to stay for 2 months? I said no, I want to go home. I held him in my arms. He was such a tiny little thing. My relationship with my husband was very difficult, and after giving birth we separated and he left. Even now, after filing a missing person report and doing everything, we still don't know where he is. Before, when I was young, when I had teeth, I would hold a knife in my teeth. I could cut something, I could peel potatoes, cut meat. But now my neighbor comes over. She helps me prepare the ingredients. And then I make both breakfast and dinner. The hardest thing in my life was bathing my son before he could sit up, because he was still little and fragile. So until he was 6 months old, I couldn't bathe him by myself. Nurses from the Duyanovsky residential home would come and help me bathe him. Mostly I would just wipe him down with wet wipes. It was hard to do laundry and hang it up. When my son was 1 year and 2 months old, we left the Duyanovsky residential home and moved to Minsk. And you know, there was practically no future for my son there. And I asked to go to Minsk so that he would have better conditions, so that my child could go to kindergarten, to school, be raised and learn. When my son started going to daycare, the other kids began to say, look, your mom doesn't have arms or legs. Your mom doesn't do anything. Then one day I came to pick him up from kindergarten. That's it. I picked him up from kindergarten, we're walking, and he says, Mom, you don't have arms or legs, you can't do anything. I didn't dress him or put shoes on him for 3 days. By the third day, he says, Mom, you do have arms and legs, please dress me, button me up. Well, because Mom, I won't do that anymore, he says. After that moment, he stopped. I didn't have an electric wheelchair. I had a wheelchair that you had to move with your hands. When I was little, he would take me everywhere in Serebryanka, to the hill, to the store, everywhere. Oh, I was on maternity leave, and I had already gone back to work. I have about 20 years of work experience. I said, I want to sew. And there were industrial machines. And on industrial machines, how? The craftswoman says, how are you going to sew on industrial machines? I said, I will. I adapted, I put a stool there and pressed the pedal with the stool. She said, I'll give you a month, get used to it. I dreamed of going to Paris, to the Eiffel Tower, to see Paris itself, because they say Paris is a very beautiful city. Well, now, because of the coronavirus, you can't really go anywhere anymore. I love taking care of flowers. No, I water them myself, but if it's about seedlings, then the neighbors help. But this year my son is mostly helping me. I water them with a hose from the window.
Is this your window?
Yes, with a hose. Well, I want to tell you that I'm not a pure innocent person. There have also been a lot of failures in my life. There were times when I drank and all sorts of things happened. So I don't take any blame of myself. But I'm grateful to the people who helped me get out of that situation. We're orphans, we are, of course. We need support somewhere, someone to give us advice, someone to support us. Now, for example, they did it for me. The committee made me Woman of the Year. You feel like a person that you are needed in this society. When I gave birth to my son and reporters came to me for the first time, I was shocked. How is it possible they will show me all over the Republic, everywhere? Everyone will know me. How is that possible? And you know, this complex follows you throughout your life. The way we got these attitudes in the boarding school, they stay with you throughout your life. Our people, our society, still don't understand. They blame others, like when I roll down the street in my wheelchair. Oh, there's a disabled person. It's the same with children. Oh, grandma has no arms, no legs. At first I used to cry because it hurt, but now I'm used to it. I just look away and walk off. I was always jealous that other people have legs, but I don't. For some reason, I didn't want arms as much as I wanted legs. My son started earning money when he was 13 because my pension was small. Plus, he had been traveling abroad since he was 8. He saw a different world, how people with disabilities live abroad and how people live here. It's a huge difference. And then, when he graduated from university, people in wheelchairs invited him to work in their organization, and he worked with them for about 12 or 13 years. My son is the most important thing to me. He gives me motivation for life, for everything. If it weren't for my son, I don't know what would have happened to me in this life. You know, you have to feed your child, you have to help him study, do the laundry, clean up, play with him. I think I've managed to live well. My son gives me so much strength and energy for everything. Being a mom without arms and legs is of course difficult, but it's amazing. It's a source of pride that you as a mom brought a child into the world and you're raising them. It's just wonderful.